Through the river and the trees, I came to be, I came to be. On the river and the roads, I learned to grow, I learned to grow. I've seen the streets of LA, I don't know if they look better today. I've seen the sights in Peru, came home a little different, I guess I grew. But the real growth happens in the heart, not what we see, like my mama told me. Real growth is more than saying you'll start, it's not your castles like my father believes. But then, I was able to see. Through the river and the trees, I came to be, I came to be. On the river and the roads, I learned to grow, I learned to grow. Through the struggles and the pain, I only gained, I only gained. When others yelled and screamed, I came to be, I came to be. I went down to the river to get a drink. People looked at me like I was insane, crazy. You can't drink that water, they said. Why don't you drink this wine with us instead? I turned around to see a chaotic scene, people grimacing as if in a dark, dark dream, hiding knives behind their backs so no one else could see. I tried to point it out, they told me I was being mean. It didn't matter to tell them they were mad. They scoffed at me and said I didn't understand. As they sharpened their blades, hate in their face, I turned to the trees and ran away. Through the river and the trees, I came to be, I came to be. On the river and the roads, I learned to grow, I learned to grow. Through the struggles and the pain, I only gained, I only gained. When others yelled and screamed, I came to be, I came to be. All the years I spent out there led me to this truth. What bothers most doesn't matter at all. It's never I only gained, I only gained. When others yelled and screamed, I came to be, I came to be.
How's my DJ? How's my DJ stuff going? Hello, look at me. I woke up late today. I'm a little, like, yesterday was a very busy day for us. And we just got done doing a live stream on the Concrete Shamanism channel. And I'm ready to go with this one. Hello, welcome to part 4 of the series that I'm doing on Zulu Shaman Credo Mutwa. And I'm not going to do a recap because, well, I've kind of forgotten what we talked about except for some of the high points. Watching this video interview with him has unlocked a lot of things for me. And we went to the Hopkinsville Goblin Con. It's the very first Goblin Con here. It's a UFO and paranormal expo. And we got to go to a couple of panels, and we got to meet lots of people. Actually, we're going to go back today and meet even more. Hi, Merritt. Merritt says, hi, handsome man. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But I have some new information to share, but I'm going to wait to share it because it's not my information. It's somebody else's. So if I see him again today, I'm going to ask him if I can talk about what he talked about on a video having to do with Edgar Casey, the Hopkinsville Goblins, and all of that. But specifically, this video is about Credo Mutwa and the Reptilian agenda. Now, here's what I'm going to say about this. I don't believe that the Reptilian agenda was bad. I think it's a necessary part of evolution, of human evolution. And many years ago, I was informed that reptilians were sort of kicked off the planet or neutralized in some way, and that what we're going through right now is sort of a cleanup operation, an energetic cleanup operation. And there are, I might say this might be very unpopular, but some people need to be controlled. Some people do need structure and control. But I think this can get misunderstood by the ego. The work that I'm doing on the restoration of masculinity and also the restoration of femininity, understanding how the reptilians brought all that to be. The reptilians, according to Credo Mutwa, separated men and women. They made men men and women women. And I think also installed that ego. I'm just theorizing here. I'm just spitballing. They installed this ego. But when men were men in their masculine and feminine were feminine and women were feminine in their feminine, did societies run smoother? I'm learning, and I think Natalie can attest to this as well, by becoming, I wouldn't say becoming more masculine because I already am masculine. The same with women being already feminine. It's removing the false stuff that has been placed upon us, the inappropriate things. And I'm continuing on that journey, working on a book about it, the restoration of the masculine in men. So I do think that this is an important time for us to be having that talk because it's happening naturally. It's being restored naturally. There is a mass awakening going on. People talk about this stuff openly now on YouTube. Sometimes you might see people in your personal life where you talk about this stuff with. And so with that said, let me get started on this getting back into this interview. We're going to watch it and we're going to listen to it and see what is unlocked. Because I feel like it's a shaman to shaman thing. Because one of the things that he was talking about in the last video about how grays are wearing a skin, gray aliens are wearing a skin, like a suit, and underneath it, it was like fish scales. And, you know, the Namo are not talked about a lot in UFO literature. And I do feel like I have a lot to say in the future. Like I have a feeling that I'm going to have a lot to say about the Namo because they're not often talked about. There's not much is known about them. And I definitely want to explore that, being Namo myself, which some of you know that I'm not from this planet. But that doesn't mean much because I'm a human now. But let's go to this documentary and dip back in.
Also on the hand is what we would call today the Star of David, which of course is not actually a Jewish symbol. It's
well, let me say he has this big old necklace that's full of symbols and stories, and we're picking up where they were talking about this necklace.
Started being used quite relatively recently in that sense, but it's actually a symbol that's been found all over the ancient world. What's the significance of that being on the hand?
There are several interpretations of this very powerful magical symbol. We say that there are actually two universes living side by side. A female universe, which is our universe, and a male universe. And to Sanusis, these two triangles, a triangle facing downwards represents the descending female principle, and a triangle going upwards represents the rising male principle. It is
interesting that we were just talking about that, right? I've had a lot of moments here where I'll be talking about something and then he'll bring something up. And Natalie says that Star of David is an ancient symbol of masculine and feminine harmony. Absolutely. I'm ready for that restoration of that harmony. I really am.
A symbol of the unity of the feminine and the masculine. It is in fact the symbol, a very important symbol of duality.
Is this the kind of shape of spacecraft, etc., or flying craft that the beings from other planets were supposed to have flown in, or not?
No. This, you see, there are various shapes. There are spacecrafts which are shaped like boomerangs or bows. These are very, very, very big. Then there are spacecraft which are shaped like pipes, like huge pipes, roughly pointed at either end. And out of those huge pipes come these little things here. They are carried inside these huge pipes. Yes.
Now, we could talk about this fella. First of all, the penis and all this stuff, that relates, I would have thought, to the penis of Osiris in Egyptian legend and the same recurring theme. Would that be along the right lines?
We say that King Samahongo, who is represented here, the lord of all the Chitauri, call them what you will, had his penis cut off by Prince Muari, an African hero, and he replaced it with a golden one. Originally, we are told, this thing was made of gold. And now each time when we recall the story of the great marriage between human women and Chitauri men, we unite these creatures symbolically. And sometimes when the necklace is lying on the ground, we make a bed out of animal skin for these two figures, and then we lay them side by side and cover them with a small skin.
So, why are the depictions of the gods, if they were reptilian, why are they not constantly reptilian? Why are they symbolized in other forms?
Because it is very, very, very forbidden to portray a Chitauli as it really is. Only in that large green head do we see a Chitauli represented more or less as it is.
But this was dictated by the Chitahuli from
Yes.
the start, was it?
Yes.
All along.
It was, you are not allowed to represent the sons of the python as they really are. Then you are really in trouble. If you want to talk about the Chitauli, you must either play with shadows, you must place an image of a Chitauli against a light and project its shadow onto the wall.
Mm.
So you've got a fish, I know, on the necklace as well, and fish are scaled. Is this
I'm interested about this part for sure.
anything to do with the symbolic representation of the Chitahuli in a way that they couldn't do it openly?
Yes, there is a particular Chitauli who is called Wowane by our people. Wowane was one of the few good Chitauli, because there are also some good people amongst them. And Wowane had a brother called Mpangu. According to one of the great stories, there erupted a terrible war on the red world where human beings had originally been created. And this war was between men and women.
Oh, my.
Yes, sir. And in this world, men and women nearly decimated each other. But they were rescued by the Earth Mother, who sent a great Nkanyamba, that is, a great dragon, to come out of the sky, to take them into its stomach, and to bring them down to, not to our earth, to a beautiful watery world near the star of the red dog.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm gonna say that this conversation about masculine restoration and feminine restoration is right on time. It is right on time, y'all.
Which the white people call Sirius, the star of anger. There, the human beings were settled, but human beings started eating creatures which they found in the sea, which they thought were fishes, but which were really human beings. Human beings, we are told, started eating the Chitahuli who lived in the sea, according to one story. And the Chitahuli fought back against human beings. They attacked them with tornadoes, they attacked them with tidal waves, and the human race was nearly wiped out. And then two brothers, two Chitauli youths, Mpangu and Wowane, took pity upon the human race. And they went into the sky and looked for a great egg. And they hollowed out this egg, emptied its contents out, and brought the egg to that world and loaded the surviving human beings and brought them to our world here.
That is really interesting. Because I've had the sense that we did not start here, that this is not our necessarily our home world, our home planet. If you say, but I'm also getting messages from spirits, and they're basically saying, the fighting amongst men and women kind of has to come to an end. We could do that in our own life. We don't put women down. We don't put women as a species, as a gender down. We don't do that, and we kind of wave people away from doing that. Like saying, "Oh, she's a crazy woman," or anything like that. We don't do that anymore, and we encourage women to do the same. Not to put men down, like men are bad or he's just a man or anything like that. This is also part of that ending the war between men and women, and I think it ending the war between all people. Essentially, we're going to be the weirdos. We're going to promote peace and harmony, and acceptance and love, and all of that stuff. Because I know that kind of stuff is reaching or has reached a fever pitch. I have not watched the news in a while, like probably a week maybe, but I have no idea what's going on in the world at all. I have muted all that stuff. If something comes across my YouTube feed, not interested. I have no idea what's going on in the world. Natalie says, Anal and Inky, maybe the two brothers. Well, let's hear more from Credo about that. But I'm going to encourage people to ending the war in self. Natalie says it is crucial to hold space for each other with open mind and open heart. Yeah, whatever force convinced men and women to be in competition or against each other, that's coming to an end in my life, in my husband's life, in our life, and he and I are, I've said that I don't have many women in my life. Well, I'm in the process right now of rectifying that. I am making friends with women out in the real world now, because for far too long I had been hurt by women and I didn't want to get involved in any of that anymore. But now it's necessary. Men and women need each other. Even gay men need women, and gay women need men. There's a lot of men hating lesbians out there, but I think it's so important to bring that up while we're watching this documentary, because it can't be that way anymore. Men and women need each other.
We say that Wowan gave us the power of kingship. He brought it out of the sky. And if you notice, in many parts of Africa, ancient kings used to wear a wooden helmet with golden horns. It was true in West Africa, and it was true also in Southern Africa, in the great Mutwa Empire.
The horns representing the Chitahuli.
Yes, the power of the Chitahuli. Because to a Chitahuli, horns are not just for goring other Chitahuli as oxen gore each other. No. Horns are a symbol of status, and through its horns, a Chitahuli is able to communicate with human beings far across the face of the earth.
So the horns were like antennae then?
Yes, they were instruments of projecting power. In fact, it is said by storytellers that King Samahongo punishes those Chitahuli who show mercy to human beings by pointing at them so that both their horns fall off their heads. And the Chitauri is therefore unable to direct human affairs through his or her horns.
It's also interesting that the descriptions of the Chitahuli, with the horns and sometimes the tail and stuff, is very, very close to how Christians and those sort of stories have depicted the devil.
Yes, sir. And one thing that interests me is this, that depictions of the devil have subtly changed over the centuries. But there is a difference now. First, originally, the devil was depicted as a hook-nosed creature, like a caricature of a North African Moor. That was at the time when the Europeans were fighting the Moors as well as the Arabs during the Crusades.
The Moor,
Many
M-O-O-R-S.
depictions of the devil then show the devil as having a hooked nose. And then later, somewhere in the 19th century AD, the devil was depicted as an African with a snub nose, thick lips, and very dark skin. But what amazes me is that now, more than ever before, the devil is represented as a cheetah. What concerns me, sir, is this, that these alien creatures are now about to reveal themselves.
Natalie says, so it's racist, of course. Hey, I mean, it's an uncomfortable thing, but I hate to break it to people, but our ancestors were racist. Almost all of our ancestors were racist. And today people are not. I know that there are certain political parties that want to keep that shit alive, but it is actually not it's not that big of a deal anymore. If there are racist people out there, I ignore them. I don't pay it any mind, you know. My family was very racist, but they're dying out one by one. So I ignore race. I don't give it much power or validity at all. And I know many of you out there agree with me on that. But yeah, they were racist. But you have to remember, we were watching the show Shogun, and it took place in 1600, and Europeans were just now meeting other types of people. And can you imagine what that would be like? Like, we live in an age where we know there's all different types of colors and people and cultures and all of that. But can you imagine meeting people who look different than you for the first time? And how would you react if you had no historical or cultural context for that at all? I mean, I think we're doing great as a society to be moving past this in just a couple hundred years. You know, I want to focus on the cool things about it. And you know, I was raised in the 80s, and I want to bring this up during this, but I was raised in the 80s where we were taught that racism was bad. We actually sought to not be racist. And at least in my experience, and I grew up in Kentucky, and you know, with MTV and all the different cultural opportunities, like getting to understand other cultures, you realize that in a very short time, the large majority of Americans have gotten over the past of racism. They have. Now, I know there are political parties out there that want to say that that's not true, that it's baked in or whatever, but I'm telling you, I think that's all victim noise. But let's go back to this. Natalie says it sounds like devil symbolism was propaganda. So glad it's on its way out. Absolutely. But I'm going to lean into, before there were other races, before people were confronted with other races, there was no racism. Like if everybody looks like you, but I think that the racism itself is propaganda. I mean, I think it's, and well, it's ego too, but the same thing with sexism and homophobia. It's sick people creating things that are sick, and I'm ready to just like ending it in yourself ends it in the world. So I did the same thing with homophobia. I thought people were homophobic, and then come to find out, people just hated me because I was a drunk asshole. Me being gay didn't have anything to do with it.
And they are making us aware of how they look like. If you look, for example, at bioscope films which were made in the 1950s, the 30s, and so on, depictions of space aliens of that time are ridiculous, very laughable, but not anymore, sir. Today, we are having films that depict the grey aliens exactly as they really are, and the Chitauli exactly as they really are. My question is why? Are we being prepared for a major event? And let me share this with you. The group of American people who came to visit me a week or so ago and who left a rather unveiled threat about me shutting up or else my wife will die, who warned me about a certain creature called Eleazar or Melchizedek, that this creature is watching me. These people said this, that on Lake Titicaca there is a hidden beam of light coming from the sky onto the surface of that South American lake, and that on the 9th of September 1999, something very interesting is going to happen at Titicaca. Now, I'm interested to know what this is.
I like how the closed captions say different things sometimes. Like September of 1999. I know that the Sega Dreamcast was released in 9999. That was pretty important. But let's go back to his other point about the alien imagery, and that they're getting close to they're getting ever closer to revealing how they actually look. So I saw this presentation by Tyler Strand yesterday, and he talked about goblins and fairies and how aliens are the goblins and the fairies, and that every age brings about a new way of how we view these creatures, or they are revealing themselves to us in different guises throughout the ages. And I hope I get to talk to him again about this. But Credo Mutwa is saying that they're starting to reveal their true faces, who they really are. Now think about this. If they used to appear to us as fairies or in goblins and other types of things, and now they're revealing themselves as the aliens, is this how they actually look? And I noticed, when the book by Whitley Strieber, Communion, came out in the 80s, in drugstores and in bookstores all over, there was this book, this cover with the alien with the almond shaped eyes, and I was like, okay, this is preparing people to see things. But even the gray aliens, they're wearing a suit, and underneath that bodysuit, there's a whole other being. But I do feel like sci-fi movies and all of that is getting us comfortable. And there's also something else that I want to talk about right now. And it is, people with sexual. Let me put it to you this way. Do you know what one of the best-selling books is right now for women? It is I'm going to speak kind of explicitly here. Not too much, but it is a book about, it's called Willow Creek Milking Farm. Hold on a second. I'm trying to get my husband, but it's a book about a woman who works at a farm that masturbates minotaurs. And this has sold millions of copies, and women are like, human beings are becoming, not all human beings, but some people are watching sexually explicit things of people are attracted to non-humans, basically, is what I'm trying to say. People have developed attractions to monsters, I never thought that would happen. Like when I used to watch Star Trek, especially like Deep Space Nine, where there would be hybrids, and like a human would have sex with a Cardassian. Not a Kardashian, not a Kim Kardashian, but a reptilian. Like the Kardashians were like the Kardashians were the reptilians. Hey, that's probably a true statement right there, if you know what I mean. But I was like, how could a person like want to have sex with a reptilian? Like, that was so strange to me that these, or a Klingon having sex with, or a man having sex with a Klingon woman, and vice versa. So in Star Trek, there were these hybrids, there were half alien races, and I thought, what a strange thing. Well, that's in the future, like that's far in the future. But just yesterday, somebody told me the kind of things that they watch, and it's not bestiality, it is monsters and aliens, the thing. So in some ways, I think, having all this imagery out here, some people might say, well, it's anti-human or what, but everything evolves. Will people eventually have sex with aliens? Probably. They're doing it already. There's alien sex dolls, but I think this is an interesting thing to bring up when he talks about preparing us, getting comfortable for us. As we become a galactic civilization, if y'all thought racism was bad, wait for what's coming next. Speciesisms. Marit says, Marina Monk, a Danish woman, lived in the Amazonas for years and came back to Scandinavia. According to her, we are to coexist and live with different people, for that is the aim in existence. Absolutely. And Natalie says there's a legend that there was a great spiritual city that was swallowed by water in Lake Titicaca. Thank you. And thank you for bringing that back into what we were talking about after my interlude about Star Trek sex.
Well, I know from my own travels to that area that there are endless sightings of craft and beings in that area. I've been there twice myself, and I do think, from my own research, Credo, that we are being prepared for these beings to openly be seen.
And being prepared this way, sir, when we do see the nasties, we are not going to react to them with the fear that we would otherwise have reacted. Because now what game is someone playing? I think, sir, that they are playing the game that whoever they are, that we should accept these beings and welcome them with open arms and make them our masters yet again. You see, sir, there has been a steady build-up in books, in children's comics, and in other things of the fact that we must accept these creatures. It started with the film E.T., where a cute little alien creature got lost on Earth and fought hard to be accepted by human beings. I think the same thing is on.
I don't think E.T. fought hard to be accepted by human beings. He just wanted to go home. He just wanted to go home. So I know that Credo was born in a time where, like, if he was my age today, he might have a different outlook on all of this stuff. Natalie says accept all, reject none. Absolutely. And so I don't know if he's going to go into this, but I'm going to say, you know, he looking at these creatures as masters, as looking at them as masters. I don't, they're not, nobody masters you. Like in this reality, you create your own reality. But also there is a collective reality as well. But he's wrong about E.T. E.T. did not try to be accepted by other humans, if only to get home again. It was more about teamwork. I would say E.T. is about teamwork. But some people are they think everything is trying to seduce them or trick them. And I don't see things that way. I don't see things that way at all. But I come from a different time as well. Like he was born in the, when was Credo Mutwa born? And I think there is, you know, just like I was talking about how every one of our ancestors was racist, including other Africans. They were scared of white people, and white people were scared of black people. It's not bad. It's just something that happened. He was born in 1921 and he died in 2020. So he definitely comes from a different time. I mean, things were a lot different in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. Natalie said E.T. wanted to eat Reese's Pieces and then he wanted to go home. And that was the first movie I went to. I was an infant. I was 10 years old when that movie came out. I loved E.T. I couldn't get it. I was like, man, I hope an alien visits me. And guess what happened?
The question is why?
One other thing I would just like to raise before we move into the bloodlines and their connections to the Illuminati is one thing that keeps coming up in my work is that some of these Chitahuli, these reptilians, at a high level of their hierarchy are actually white. Have you come across that?
Yes. They are not white like white people.
Uh-oh.
If you take white cardboard and you soak it in dirty water, that is the color you will get. That is the color of the Chitahuli. And wait, sir, let us think carefully about this. According to African storytellers, the Chitahuli have got cold blood. They feel cold very quickly. And where they dwell under the earth, where the great sun god banished them, they dwell there surrounded by great fires because their blood is cold. They freeze eternally. And so if you come across them in their caves, there are many, many cooking fires lit there.
That's interesting. The symbolism of the devil being in the fires of hell.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And there is...
That's very interesting. And I understand, this, David, a Westerner, and, David came from a different time as well. I mean, he's 73. He was born in 1959. He's 20 years older than me. But man, a lot happened in that 20 years, didn't it? A lot happened in that 20 years as well. So when he made this video, he would have been in his late 40s. And I do think that context is necessary. And also I've gone, like, I don't know if, they call him a Zulu shaman, but I don't think he claims that title as well. But I have gone through specific things that a shaman will go through to not be afraid of this stuff at all. Like, this stuff is not scary to me, or I do not look at this stuff as if it's bad. It's just something that is happening, and that I feel like it's a necessary thing. So while they're equating it with the devil, I don't think the devil is bad. I don't think Satan is bad or evil or anything like that. And that can set their teeth on edge. But also a shaman can't look at the world that way. A shaman cannot, because we work with low order evil spirits. And I'm definitely not going to give them more power than they think that they have as well. So my philosophy is to never look at this stuff as if it has any power over you whatsoever. I told this to a Christian once, and they went into a tailspin. And they told me that I was speaking my way to the gates of hell and all this other kind of stuff. And sometimes when I meet some Christians out in the world, they never shut up about hell. They never shut up about it, almost like they're obsessed with it. And I just say, if you want to go to hell, you can go there, but you don't have to die before you go to hell. You could just be there now. Many people are in hell right now. So what David and they might be looking at this as like, oh gosh, this is evil or bad, or the Chitahari are the embodiment of evil. I don't see it that way. I don't think alligators are evil. I don't think, what are some other animals that might be sharks? I don't think they're evil. And sometimes those animals hurt people and sometimes kill people, but are they evil, or are they just, they're animals? And we're all part of a big system. And this human physical existence is, it ain't even that important at all. It ain't even that important very much at all. And, again, let me reference that talk that Tyler gave yesterday. There's so much focus on the physical. And yes, the physical is important, but this physical world is a representation or a part of what's happening in other realities as well.
Another thing, the Chitauli, their eyes, terrible as they are so efficient that if a Chitauli appears suddenly into the hot African sunlight, two things happen to him. His skin dries and blisters, and he goes totally blind. In fact, sir, there have been a strange race of aliens which have been seen in Africa, even by white people, which I think are actually Chitauli. When you run and the thing chases you, it stops immediately when a car's headlights hit it. and it becomes blind. Another thing, we are told amongst our people that a Sangoma must always have a bogo. This is a sharpened wooden stick, which he or she must carry at night. We are told that a sharpened stick is the only weapon by which you can kill a chitauri.
Well, of course, again and again as you speak, what comes to mind is the story of Dracula. Count Dracula, the stake in the heart, the blood drinker, the blood drinking, which is precisely what this Chitahuli and their crossbreeds seem to be into.
But it is not just any wood that you must use against a chitauri. We believe that Rhodesian teak, a wood.
I do want to bring this up. Yesterday when I was at the Goblin Con, I bought a sharpened stick. And it's a wand, but I bought a sharpened stick. Isn't that an interesting thing to get? Interesting. Very interesting.
Wood which has got a strange bitter taste is the one type of wood that is poisonous to the chitauri. And down there, you see a long stick that I am carving in preparation for the year 2000. I might not be alive to see the year 2012. But these sticks, which I've been working.
Did you notice the light went out? My light went out when he said that. Interesting.
Working upon for the last 5 years is going to be the one stick which my successor will carry, and it will end in a sharp point. This wood, Rhodesian teak, is the wood that we say can actually kill a chitauri. And where the chitauri are found, you find Rhodesian teak or any other teak trees.
He's saying teak.
Either being felled in large quantities or being pushed over by elephants.
Okay, so I want to talk about, my experiences with reptilians just a little bit. I mean, he in a lot of this documentary, he's talking about killing them, cutting them, hurting them, and no wonder, I mean, come on. When the reptilians visited me, they didn't hurt me. They didn't abuse me that I know of. They didn't try and have sex with me. They didn't they just regarded me. It was just kind of like some information being exchanged. And so that is this is a very strange synchro event that there were all different types of wands there. I think I may have seen one a lot like a small version of that one. And but if he's talking about killing them and hurting them and all of that because he thinks that they're evil, well, no wonder. No wonder he might have had some of these experiences, because I'm definitely not gonna try and hurt any other being in that way. Natalie says, yeah, that isn't Right Path. How is his name spelled? I'd like to look him up. It is Credo. Here, I'll put this on the screen. Oh, wrong. Credo Mutwa. And so, much of how people feel about reptilians today comes from this guy and David Icke. And what if it's just wrong? You know? I mean, I'm not gonna say that it's not right, but at the same time, if he's talking about killing all these reptilians, well, no wonder they're terrorizing him and all of that. Hello, reality designers. Haven't had a single negative experience with an entity except for one, which was this dark octopus that felt it was in the center of the universe, deep in meditation. Well, sometimes we come across these things and they're like, get the hell out. Get the hell out. It's kind of like what I was talking about earlier, where I thought people were homophobic, but they weren't. I was just being an asshole. And I just said, well, you must hate gays. But it just turns out like, I can't think of even the experiences that I've had that were negative, that they had to be negative in that way. Because we human beings are weird. We'll interpret tough love as bad, like people holding us accountable as bad. So if he's talking about, sticks that'll kill a Chitahuri, well then no wonder. I'd be upset if somebody was carving sticks to kill me. I'd be like, what? Hell no. And reality designer says we self-animate our own entities, personify them to study them externally as we can't recognize it in our eternal form just yet. Absolutely. You do have to, the reason why aliens sometimes don't appear to people is because we would have so much fear that we would project it onto them and be scared of them. My experiences with reptilians were just kind of like, okay, what's up? How you doing? But then again, I wasn't carving weapons to be used against anybody at that point.
Out to you, sir, that many of the trees that are being destroyed in the Amazon jungle and in the Southeastern Asian jungles, as well as in the African jungles, are teak, the one wood that the cheetah would fear. And while on the subject of wood, the only mask that can protect you against the cheetah is a mask made of teak. And in some of the flea markets,
that message did not show up in my feed, but it basically said sometimes the bad guys show up for us to help us. You're right. And Natalie says, I received a message in meditation that the reptilians were overthrown, but not through aggression, through love. Absolutely. They had to be shown how what they were doing was not beneficial to them or to us or to anybody. I've gotten those messages as well, Natalie. So I definitely, if you want to overthrow something, love it. And not get, there are people out there that hate President Trump, hate him, want to overthrow him, do not like him. And, we have people in our country right now trying to overthrow the government. I'm like, you do know that if you just learned to love him, he wouldn't be all that. If you truly hated him, you would try to love him and love what he's doing. And it wouldn't, you would be amazed at that. But protests don't work. Forming weapons against other people doesn't work. Loving them, it's the only thing that works. If you truly want to overthrow something, love it. But you know what? That's when you love something, you learn to live with it. You don't have to overthrow it anymore.
Around Johannesburg, I'm seeing more and more masks carved in Mozambique and in Zimbabwe, representing a cheetah. The eyes are huge, round, with slits through which a person can see, and the lips are non-existent, and so is the nose. I've seen hundreds of such masks being sold by curio sellers in the streets.
One of the other things that comes up in terms of the way they look is the domed head. Now, I was in Egypt recently and saw.
I want to talk about this. Reality designer says I look straight in the mirror and seen a reptilian overlay pixel screen within myself. Never thought much of it. I mean, we all have these beings in our life around us. I have reptilian guides. Maybe a lot of other people do. I've got all types of different guides. Some guides people would say, and I won't even call them guides. Now that I'm in my shaman role, they're helpers. They guided me. They still guide me, but they're more like helpers. They're like coworkers. And some of them would scare the shit out of anybody. They're very terrifying, but you know what? They're not that terrifying to me. They're just, I mean, sure, some of them got lots of eyes and claws and stuff, but sometimes these spirits choose how to appear, and sometimes it's to command respect as well. Like this is more of who I am than I actually am. Does that make sense?
Depictions of Nefertiti and the Akhenaten family, and they had big domed heads. Is this a connection?
Yes, sir. You see, we human beings tend to imitate those creatures that we call gods. It's going on even now. When African women saw white people, they named them Abelu, which literally means the gods. And today, in America and in Africa, black women and some black men are going out of their way to give themselves hair which is European and not African in current. Now this thing it dates back thousands of years. First of all, the one race of the Chitauri, the ones that are called Nomo or...
I want to say, there is the weirdness that, some other black people think that black women straightening their hair or wanting to look different, that it's, some people just like straight hair, and some people just, this is that weird thing. Like there's nothing wrong with being European or Chinese or black. Like it just seems like very weird to me. I grew a beard because I wanted to wear a beard, and I grew my hair long just because I didn't want to go to the stylist every month or a couple of months to keep up with I'm more, but maybe somebody straightening their hair, if they're black, it doesn't mean that they're trying to look European. Maybe it means that they just want straight hair. I mean, see, we're from different times as well. Marat says Trump does good. The form in which he is presented when he was in UN and talking in Scandinavia, he was reported being ego, telling what he had done. Absolutely. I watch speeches from that man and they project onto him. It's crazy. If you have any, though, you're told how to feel. People are told how to feel. The news is so emotional now. It plays on fears and emotions. It's wild. I don't know what we're going to do without a media that is truthful and honest. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know if we can survive as a country much longer when our media is just straight up lying to us in that way. It's remarkable how bad it is. And I don't see it as bad. I'm just like, it is really bad. Like people are not even living in truth anymore. And they're unreachable too. You get somebody in their emotions and they're unreachable.
Normal by the Dogoni people are depicted as having beard-like growths of the same type that look like the beards of Egyptian pharaohs. They are shown having, it is said that when a Chitauri gets very old, after tens of thousands of years, he or she develops a bone-like growth under the chin, which twists around like the horn of that kind of fish-like creature I saw in Europe in a picture called a narwhal. And this thing curls up this way. Now, Egyptian pharaohs used to wear beards like that. And some African kings wore beards like that, real beards or even false beards made out of ivory or out of the tusk of a warthog. And there was a time definitely in history when African kings as well as Egyptian pharaohs went out of their way to imitate the appearance of the Chitauri. Queens like Nefertiti had their faces misrepresented by the court painters. They looked exactly like the Chitauri as near as possible. The high cheekbones, the drooping chin, the unusually large head. African sangomas, African inyangas, ancient Egyptian pharaohs, all of them used to wear headdresses that made their heads look much larger than they actually were. If you look, say, at the crown, certain crowns worn by Egyptian kings, the whole head, the crown, is intended to be an extension of the pharaoh's head, to give the pharaoh an appearance of above average intelligence. In Africa, we had kings who favored headdresses made out of the scrotums of elephants or rhinoceroses or even buffaloes. A scrotum which was dried and made bulbous and worn on the head by the king to make his head look larger than it was. And lastly,
wait, ball sacks? Ball sack hats to look bulbous. Do I need to get one of those? Cause I might want an elephant ball sack hat. I'm just kidding. But so they did try to look like aliens, and that's interesting. But I don't know about a ball sack hat. I might draw the line at that. But it's a different time. Like, oh, this ball sack looks like an alien head. I think I'll just wear it as a hat. But it's from a different time. I mean, we could just make hats now. But isn't it interesting that certain religious figures wear big old hats? Merrick? He's creeping around. I think he's cleaning the kitchen. So you might hear him. I think he's wearing headphones too. But I'm not going to be able to go as long as today because I do have to get to the Goblin Con, and we're going to go again today. So I'm going to be wrapping this up in a few minutes, but we're going to get this lastly part here.
Ancient Greece, at the time when Greece reached the great heights in its culture and civilization, the great ruler Pericles used to wear a special soldier's helmet.
Right. I mean, if you're going to use all parts of the animal, why not make a hat out of the ball sack?
with a bulbous skull, a helmet which made his head look much bigger than it really was.
Do they still do that today? Are there still African traditions that do that today?
Yes, sir. Yes, very much so. And in America, some Native American shamans used to wear a special head made out of this, the head and the horns of a buffalo, which also made the man's head look bigger than it is. Say, popes, the Pope in Rome wears a head which is intended to show him as having a brain bigger than average. That
See what I mean? It's weird. It's weird. But so I would love to have like an animal headdress. I think it would look really cool. I would like to have horns to wear. I think that would be cool. Not cool, but it feels natural to me to wear stuff like that, like headdresses and just, I love that stuff. It feels natural to me. I don't do it on camera anymore. I don't do my shaman stuff on camera anymore. I used to do it a lot. But now every time I think, ooh, I'm going to do some shaman. Nope. Natalie says big balls, big penis, big brain. Yeah, everything big.
crown which has got three crowns, one on top of the other one.
Mm.
And now, bishops, especially in the Greek Orthodox Church, they wear crowns like that. And the Tsar of Russia, one of the Tsars, wore a bulbous crown which was in two sections, which made his head bigger than it really was. And in Persia, in Iran, some ayatollahs wear a turban whose effect is to make the man's head look bigger than it is. So does a Sikh. And so, for that matter, to the ancient priests of Israel, they also wore an iron-shaped headdress, whose impression was to give him a far and above size head.
Are there also traditions in which they manipulate children's heads as they're growing so that they become more stone-like?
Yeah. During my travels in Africa, sir, I came across an amazing people whom you must visit. They are called the Mangbetu people, and they live near Lake Rudolph in Central Africa. They are a beautiful, aristocratic people. And what they don't know about the universe is just not worth knowing. The Mangbetu people believe that an elongated skull with a flattened forehead pleases the gods.
The gods.
They flatten the skulls of their children, causing constant headaches to the child, even when the child has grown into adulthood. And I asked a beautiful Mangbetu woman, "Madam, why do you torture your children this way?" The woman, the wife of a senior chief, said to me, "Look, the gods want us to be like this."
All right, so I'm gonna leave it there for today. We're not gonna go for 2 hours today, but Marit says, Patrick, have you been in Greece experiencing the energy there in Scandinavia? The light comes from the north. Here's an interesting thing about me. I have never left the country. And I've always wondered, like, it's not that I never had the opportunity to, or even that there has never been a call for me to go to other countries. I do feel, you know, part of that is the me being a shaman. I don't even know if I could go to other countries and I don't even know if I could. There's been many times that I've planned trips to go and it just hasn't worked out. But I mean, it's not that I don't appreciate other countries or want to go to, it just has never been something that I've been all that interested in. I've definitely interacted with, met, been friends with people from other countries. It hasn't been all that interesting to me. I'd like to go. But even, you know, the way that I am, it does stir up energy when I go places. So I don't know if I would go to other countries really right now. I don't know if I would go to other countries right now. It would have to be for the right thing. I don't know if I would like to go to Tokyo to go to Super Nintendo World. That's it. But I appreciate other countries. I just don't feel like it's necessary. And in many ways, I feel like in other lives, I've already lived in these countries, and maybe I haven't really lived in where I'm living right now in a physical existence. Or maybe I don't want to get into that too much, but yeah, I've never been to another country. I don't see any need to. Marit says, I knew you have to be challenged. Shamans exist here. Yeah. It just, maybe it'll come up. It just hasn't in my life. But also through most of my life, I have been alcoholic and an addict, and I wouldn't travel because I needed to do cocaine. Couldn't bring cocaine with me, to Germany on the plane. So I was an addict. So addicts don't travel all that much unless they have the resources to be able to get drugs wherever they want. I definitely would. I mean, I probably have spent more money on drugs than anything in my life. So, if I had to choose back then, if I had to choose between a plane ticket or an 8-ball of cocaine, I would choose the 8-ball of cocaine. Absolutely. Natalie says, I want to visit Hallstatt in Austria, and Hobbiton in New Zealand. Yeah. I feel most drawn to Japan. Like Japan really appeals to me, and I've always loved Japanese things and Japanese culture. And it's interesting because when I met my birth mother, you know, I said, "What about my birth father?" And she said that he had died in a drunk driving accident. Imagine that. He was a cop, and he was married to a Japanese woman, and that I have a half Japanese and a half Japanese brother, half sister. And I said, "Ooh, I love Japanese culture and things." And my mother said, "Well, honey, your dad did too. Your dad loved Japanese stuff too. So it must be in my genetic makeup." All right. I loved hanging out with you guys today and talking about these things. And in what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go out to GoblinCon, and I'm going to take lots of pictures, and I'm going to report back in an episode of the Shaman Patrick Show what I find. So I want to thank you all for joining me today. I love you guys so very much. For those here, I do want to talk about this. The name of the book that I was talking about, that people are all about, it is the Morning Glory Milking Farm. And it is this right here. And this is a book that has sold quite a bit of copies. Merrick and I were like, we ought to write erotica. We ought to write erotica for women. But that's what the ladies are into these days. So definitely things are changing. Things are changing. Marit says, you ought to tell us about your birth mother. Interesting. She was just a crackhead. She was just a crazy crackhead. And I never got to meet her in person, but she did send me pictures of her. And then it got weird. It turned out she was just contacting me to see if I had money because she was homeless. And it's kind of, you know, it was like, oh, well, because I live most of my life wanting to meet my mother. Natalie, do you want to write monster erotica? I mean, if you're looking to make some quick cash, Morning Glory Milking Farm is a good way to start. All right, I love you. Wait, what? There. I guess he's kind of handsome if you're into that sort of thing. I mean, he's got nice arms, but he is just like a cow. I don't know if would be into that at all. But Morning Glory Milking Farm for those who are interested. All right, I'm going to get out of your hair. I love you guys so much. I'll be back on Monday with a new episode of the Shaman Patrick Show. I want to tell you this. People are really loving our album, You Want to Be Enlightened. Please go to our website at concreteshamans.com and download a copy of this. It is a spiritual book and an album. Very cathartic. All right. I really for sure am getting out of your hair now. Well, I love you. Bye-bye. Natalie says he looks like Ferdinand. Oh, stop. Bye, guys.